I didn't record. I just started recording. That's okay. Okay, you're considered among the privileged in the society when you're able to afford a chicken in your meal. So it's actually a very important reason to raise poultry in our homestead, so we can have access to good meat. Okay, not just meat, but good meat, healthy meat, right? Okay, so what other reasons? Why should we raise poultry in our homestead? Why? What other reason? Another importance of having poultry in our homestead garden. All right, we've agreed that we all should have a garden at home. And if you know you have a garden at home, kindly say, I do in the chat. And if you don't, please plan to start. Plan to start one. Plan to start one, okay? Welcome. Pastor Mrs. Aaron seems you're able to scale through the audio stuff. Okay, another reason is for the purpose of fertilizer. The waste of poultry is an excellent organic fertilizer source. So when you have chickens moving in your garden, what are they doing? As they are picking up, okay, we talked about pest and weed control. As they are picking up the pest, they're also picking up the weeds. What are they also doing? They are releasing fertilizer, organic manure that will help the plants that we want to grow well. So they add fertilizer to our home garden while weeding out the weeds and also removing the pest. Yeah, through forage. When they forage on the insects, in the garden, they are removing the pest and helping us have a healthier garden. The fifth reason why poultry is important in a homestead is for the purpose of income generation. I mean, everyone needs alternative source of income, and especially now. And sometimes, of course, we all know that salary is not always enough. We all need alternative source of income. And so you can decide to raise poultry for the sake of income generation, okay? It can be a supplemental income source. And how can it happen? When you begin to sell the eggs or the meat, or you can decide to sell, brood and sell this, sell the breed the stocks and sell them, sell the old chicks, and you'll be amazed at how much extra income you are making. Another reason why poultry is important in homestead is for the purpose of waste management. Now, how many of us generate waste in our kitchen? Like sometimes we have some waste and we just pour them. Good. Mr. Collins Emeka says he does have, he longs to have. Wow, Reverend Father Pius say he does have. That's awesome. Let's clap for him. Thank you. Imagine everybody replicating this. We'll be so in for a food secured economy. So we encourage those that don't have a garden to please start one. So when we talk about waste management, we generate waste from our kitchen, and this can be given to the chickens in our homestead to consume. So they can consume the kitchen waste, the meal leftovers, and of course that will help to reduce the overall waste. I feel very bad when I have to waste food, like there's food remaining and there is no animal around me to consume it. I feel terrible. I feel very terrible. So please, let's begin to think of having poultry in our homestead. Space is not an option. We're going to see how we can manage this as we continue. Another reason why we should have poultry in our homestead is for the purpose of education. It helps us to, give our younger ones, our children, valuable learning experiences, especially for children, even our youth. Farming has a way of teaching us responsibility. Imagine giving the responsibility of watering the garden every morning and evening to your kids. You give them portions. You tell them this portion is your own. This portion is your own. Make sure you water it every morning and every evening. Now they have a responsibility. You are teaching them how to be responsible. And of course, you're teaching them humaneness. And I'm beginning to wonder, could it be the reason why we have a lot of restiveness in our time? Could it be the reason we have a lot of restiveness in our time amongst our youth? Because they are not really into agriculture. So you see, when you begin to incorporate these things at home and you begin to, teach our younger ones how to feed this chicken, feed whatever, livestock you have at home, it becomes a responsibility. How to water the garden, ensure that so time you are giving the chicken food or you are watering the garden, you will see that these little children will begin to imbibe the culture of responsibility and also have the attitude of humaneness, and definitely develop animal husbandry techniques. So it's interesting, and I see it in our children. When I go to schools and I talk to little children about farming, initially they don't like farming. But before we are through, so many of them are excited and they're telling me how they're going to tell their mom to, map out a place in their compound, and then they will be watering, they will plant, they will tell her to give them pepper seed or tomato seed, and then they'll be watering. I tell them, keep doing it. When next I come, you show me what you have done. And they're so excited. So we cannot, we cannot underestimate the importance of this. It goes a long way beyond just becoming food secured economy. It will help us to actually have, responsible citizens. And I believe that it will help us, even our young ones, to grow up to have the feelings of others, because what I'm seeing now is really scary. May God help us in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. Now, what are the common poultry species that we can rear in our homestead? There are so many poultry species that we can rear, so many of them. So it's not just about a particular type you've been seeing. There are so many. Now, some of the common poultry species that we can consider for our homestead includes the following. Number one, chickens. I'm sure we're very familiar with chickens. Now, when we talk about chickens, we are talking about broilers, we're talking about layers. Okay, that's the pictures there. These are broiler, these are layers. We're talking about cockerels, these are cockerel, and so on. So many chickens, so many types of chicken we have, but these are some of the ones, that we're familiar with. Now, we talk about, you can actually consider rearing ducks. Okay, yeah, duck is a very sweet meat, and you can consider rearing it at home. Okay, it's quite very easy to rear. It's very easy to rear, and it has high resistance to diseases. Okay, you can also consider rearing guinea fowls, even though it's not very common, but you can consider rearing guinea fowl. See how guinea fowl looks. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. The 1, 2, 3, the 5th picture, this is a guinea fowl. Okay, now another common poultry we know is the turkey. Those days we used to see turkeys at home. I no longer see them anymore. I think we need to go back and begin to do things like this. We hear those sounds, tolo tolo, making yanga. Oh, it's beautiful. So we can rear turkeys at home. They'll just be moving around, be feeding themselves, picking up feed by themselves. And when it is time, you just kill them and you have good meat at home. Now, we can also think of rearing pigeons. Pigeons are good poultry to rear. Also, quail. So many of us know about quail eggs, but we don't know that we can also rear quails at home. We can. The benefits of the eggs are so enormous that we can begin to think of rearing them. Ostriches also can be reared, but I don't, they are so massive, you know, that it can be reared by those that have good space at home. So these are some of the poultry species that we can rear at home. Oh, I hope you can read this, but it's okay. When we're considering choosing poultry breeds for our homestead, what factors do we look at? Now we have made up our mind that we're going to rear poultry at home, right? How many of us have made up our minds to do that? You can drop "I have" on the chat. Okay. It's important we decide to take actions. Okay. Now, we can consider these following factors when we want to choose poultry breeds for our homestead. Number one factor is the purpose. Now that you want to rear poultry at home, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve? Is it the meat? You want to rear poultry for the sake of getting meat, or you want to rear poultry for the sake of getting eggs, or both of them? Whatever be your purpose, make sure you define your purpose so that it will help you know the type of birds to go for. So if you want to rear chicken for meat, you know that you go for chickens like broilers, right? Good. If you want to rear for egg, you know that you go for what? Layers. Good. So what you have in mind will determine the kind of poultry you are going to choose for your own homestead. Now, if you want to have quail eggs, you know that what you're going to go for is quail, right? So whatever it is, once you have made up your mind, and which I believe that we all have decided to start a poultry in our homes, what we need to do is to identify the purpose. Why do I want to raise poultry at home? Do I just want to get the eggs, or do I want to get meat, or even the both of them? So whatever be your reason, define it. The second factor to consider is the space requirement. You need to consider the available space in your homestead and choose breeds that can fit well within those confines. There are breeds that can stay at a place and don't need too much movement. And there are breeds that need to move around. So if you know you don't have enough space, you look for poultry breeds that are docile generally. Okay. But if you know you have space, you can look for poultry breeds that are more active. Okay. So that is it about space requirements. Okay. I already talked about temperament. Okay. Some breeds are docile, making them better suited for families or smaller spaces, while others may be more independent. Okay, I've talked about this. So your space, you must consider your space, and that will help you know whether you are going for the poultry that don't like moving around so much, or the type that likes moving around too much. So if you have space, well, you can have your poultry that is very active and can, you know, forage on things around and pick up their food. But if you don't have that space, you can construct a kind of poultry that you can keep by the corridor of your kitchen, and there's a way you do it and it will be very neat. Okay, so we're going to talk about that later. You can talk about another factor to consider is climate adaptability. Now, you need to select breeds that can thrive well in the climate of their growing environment. Okay, now that you have made up your mind on the space that you're going to keep them, where you're going to keep them, is it very much exposed to sunlight, or is it exposed to cold? So these are things you must consider. If they are very much exposed to sunlight, then you must look for breeds that can, you know, withstand much heat. If the place you are keeping them has a lot of shade, then you must get breeds that can withstand cold. Okay, it's very important. You also need to consider the factor of disease resistance. Okay, so you need to opt for breeds that are known for their resistance to common poultry diseases. All right. So you need to look at that also. It's very important, especially if you don't really have so much time for that. So you can look for breeds. I know our local breeds are very resistant to diseases. So if you don't have so much time to bother about poultry diseases, you can go for our local breeds that are more resistant to diseases. Now, other factors are local availability. Go for poultry that are really available. You know, the ones that you can easily get. Heritage versus hybrid breed. That is, you decide whether you are going for heritage breed, that is the traditional, they are often the hardy breeds, or the hybrid ones, that is a crossbreed, or that is breeds that are crossbreeds for specific traits. Okay, so you decide those that also have predator resistance, feed efficiency, those that can easily convert feed to meat or eggs. So you look at these factors when you are deciding to start a poultry in your homestead. And actually, they are very simple factors to consider. So this, we're going to look at setting up a poultry area at home. I'm sure a lot of us are waiting for this. Now, how do we do this? How do we set up a poultry area at home? Number one, we must consider the following steps. Number one, we must choose an appropriate location. Construct a cage. Okay, first of all, when you choose an appropriate location, you must choose a place that is away from noisy area. Poultry don't like noisy areas. It makes them to always, go to a corner. They wouldn't want to exercise their freedom. But if it's a calm place, they will be fine. Okay, so you choose places that are not noisy, and choose an area too that is well drained and has good sunlight. You can also think of constructing a cage. For those that don't have all the space, you can construct a small cage. Now, this cage here may look a little bit complex, but it's not exactly complex. However, you can decide to cut off this extra extension. That is the wrong way. You can cut it off. Now, when you look at this cage, you see that the cage is up. The essence is to be able to allow their droppings come down. When they are droppings, you can put something like a zinc under, and every morning just bring out the zinc and remove it. Okay, it's very easy to clean. Okay, so this is actually a simple construct that can guide you. And if you look at this one too, it's looking same. Okay, you can also, another factor to consider is to build a run. Building a run, which is this extension here, is optional. It will help them actually move around for exercise. Okay, but it's not very, very important. Now, if you are not using this type of cage, you can get a bedding material. That is, you can decide to use sawdust, something that is dry, straw, wood shavings, that will enable them to feel insulated, and of course ensure cleanliness. And always remember to remove the sawdust once it gets wet. Okay, you may need to consider the factor of the feeding and watering station. You get their feeder, you get their water containers. Okay, you must get these things so that it will be easy for them. You position it in a way that it will be easy for them to access. Okay, and ensure that the feeders are off the ground so as to prevent contamination. Also ensure the waters are off the ground so as to prevent contamination. You must consider the factor of shade, providing a regular shade, and consider regular cleaning. Like I told you, if you use this type, it will be easy to clean, whereby you just come in the morning, remove the zinc, and put it back again. Okay, just sweep it off and put it back again. So, what are the benefits of integrating poultry with gardening? I've talked about this before. Okay, this is just like a repetition. So when we integrate poultry with gardening, it has a lot of benefits. This includes natural pest control when they forage, fertilization when they release their waste, soil aeration. They till the soil and helps the soil to have more oxygen. Compost assistance, help us to turn our compost, making it, ready for use. Egg and meat production. There are so many other benefits, but these are just a few of it. Okay, so By integrating poultry into your garden, you are creating a mutual benefit relationship that supports both plant growth and minimizes pests and enhances overall sustainability. At this point, I will allow us to ask questions. If you have questions, kindly ask. Awesome, awesome. Awesome. Pastor Mrs. Aaron says she has a poultry. Well done, ma. Well done, ma. Do we have any question? Okay. Okay. I'm waiting for our questions. So I will assume that we all understood what we have just shared this evening. And how many of us are going to start up a poultry if we don't have one already? How many of us are going to start up one? How many of us are starting up one? You can type in the chat, I'm going to start up one. Good, 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 good. So thank you everyone for your time. I'm hoping that by next month, we all will bring pictures of our various poultry in our homestead. And I believe you, just one person doing this is actually solving a huge problem in our society. Yes, imagine one person doing it, another person doing it, another person doing it. We'll have food secured economy. Please, let's do this. Together, we can become food sufficient. Dalono for your time. All right, we're going to see you next month. I will. Thank you, James. Thank you, Rapa. Thank you. I'm going to look forward. Please, next month, ensure to bring the pictures of your homestead poultry, and let's encourage others that have not started too. Thank you, everyone, for your time. God bless us all. Thank you, Tonya. Thank you, Reverend Father Pius. Thank you, James. Let me see everyone. Okay, I want to see everyone here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate.
Thank you, Ray Power. Thank you, Collins. Thank you, Dr. Pastor Mrs. Aaron. Thank you, everyone. Good. Yeah. See you all next time. Bye.